Welcome back to the Postpartum Standard. I'm Toni Toomey, and I'm joined here today by Sarah Smith. Sarah, thank you so much for joining.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the invite to be on this.
Of course. Let's dive in. Tell us about you and your motherhood journey.
Sure. So I'm Sarah Smith. I have two kids now. We're two and done. And I had my first baby in 2020 during a pandemic. And we moved. Yeah, it was crazy. And we moved from we're from Atlanta. We had moved down to Miami in 2018, spent like 2.5 years there. And then we were told, okay, you're moving up to DC with my husband's job. And so mid pandemic, I think I was like 6 months pregnant when we went to go look for houses, and we had 10 days to find a house and a place to live. And so we, thank goodness, we found a house. And then in September of 2020, we moved. And I was like maybe, I don't know, 7 months pregnant, maybe six. I don't remember the timeline because, nothing during pregnancy is ever a thing.
Yeah, it
Um,
all blurs. And
yeah,
then you add COVID and it like even blurs more.
no, there's no time. That makes sense. And so we moved up. I was very pregnant. We had maybe a couple of months to get like even a washing machine and a dryer ready for us before the baby came. And it was our first kid. It was unexpected and it changed our life drastically. I mean, before COVID, even we were having, my husband and I were on the road every week, every other week. I was traveling Monday through Thursday to Detroit every week. And my husband like would be gone for 2 or 3 weeks at a time. And our joke was like, we just see each other in the, bypassing in the airport, right?
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's wild. So
Yeah.
what did that like transition look like for you? Obviously, like as a new mom, traveling is not really on the cards.
Yeah, it was like we were even at the point, Tony, where we were talking about freezing my eggs. It was like at that point where we were so incredibly like everything was on an upward trajectory. I was working for a boutique consulting firm. I loved it. I loved what I did. I was consulting with like a Fortune 10 company, and my husband was really invested in his job. And, I just remember being like, I feel funny. Let me take a pregnancy test.
Oh my
And I
God.
did. And I screamed. I was like, "Baby, we're pregnant!" And like, of course, my husband's the sweetest man in the world, and so I said, "Okay, we need to go get another pregnancy test to make sure it's right." And then he went and got it, and it was like he also panic bought like 6 different types of chips. So yeah, that was our joke of like, have we bought 6 different types of chips? How do we know we're pregnant?
That's so funny.
So yeah, and so I mean, it was like the world screeched to a halt, but it was actually kind of sweet because like outside of like the anxiety and the just terror of bringing a small child into like what was a pandemic,
Yeah.
it was like wow, we really get a lot of time at home with each other, and it was like this is either going to make or break our marriage, right?
Yeah.
So it made it, thankfully. It was like a 180 from where we were when we had my first one. It was wild.
Tell me a little bit about the difference from like the first to the second.
You know, that's a really good question, and that's one that I was really worried about. So with my first one, and this one we talked about ad nauseum, right? With my first one, of course I had really bad PPD and PPA. Like, and for anybody who doesn't know, that's postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety. And I got diagnosed at like 6 months postpartum, and I didn't know that. Like, I thought I had beaten it. I was like, like
Yeah.
whatever, it doesn't matter. Um, and my therapist was like, I think you need to get some medication or see somebody, get in a support group. Because I was like, you know what, I'm good. No, it's 9 months, I'm fine. Um, and then it got real dark real fast, after it really hit me, and I ended up going on long-term disability, which being on long-term disability for mental health is not easy to do in terms of like them giving it to you because it's not something they can see, right?
Yeah.
um and so like just the gravity of being like I'm on long-term disability for a mental health issue that I'm working on and fixing.
Yeah.
And then having to understand, like, just because it happened with my first didn't mean that it was going to happen with my second. We don't have family up here. We didn't have a lot of friends. We didn't have um like the village people
Mm-hmm.
talk about that
Yes.
you're quote supposed to have. We don't have that in our modern motherhood journey, family building practices, right?
Yeah. Most
Yeah.
women that I talk to don't have it. And it's honestly, it's like a big part of why I founded the podcast, because we didn't have a village either. We live thousands of miles away from our family. And I was really fortunate. I met my best friend while we were both pregnant, and she's a doctor, and like we've just become completely inseparable, and our girls are 3 months apart. And so it's been amazing. But like, you also, it really does take a whole village, and we didn't have
Mm-hmm.
that. And there was like a big kind of education gap too. I feel like the
Yes.
system talks so much about pregnancy education and all of that, and there's all these resources for pregnancy, and then it's like, oh, you passed that 6 week checkup, and they're like, okay, good luck, bye. But like, most women like yourself don't develop PPD and PPA until months later, and so often it's missed because they think, well, this is normal. Like, this is just hormonal. I'm just tired. Like, it's easy to kind
Mm-hmm.
of make those excuses. And there's nothing in place to like catch those moms and say, like, hey, it's okay. You're having a hard time. And like that, we can help. But this is what modern medicine is for, is to help in those cases. But without the village, they're like, it's really hard to see that stuff in yourself. And
Yeah.
without the village to kind of gently like nudge you in that direction, it's really easy to just like get very deep in that hole very fast.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because I also didn't know this, is that PPD and PPA look very different for
Hmm.
different women. And
Yes.
so, like, for mine, it was manifesting as like crazy anger swings, which, I mean, I'm not real calm as a human being anyway, but this was getting to a point where it was like something's wrong. Like, and I've been sober over 10 years at this point, but it was getting to the point where it was like, this is like pre sobriety levels of anger that I have not seen in years. And that's how I knew it was like there was a problem. And my poor husband, like, he didn't know what to look out for. He didn't know any of it. Like, his mother, I think, struggled with it, but that it also was like at that age, and he was the youngest, nobody really talked about it. My mom had, I'm a twin, and she had 3 kids under 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
That's a
it's
lot.
like, yeah, and so you just kind of do because you do,
Yeah.
right? You don't really, that was not a time that we talked about it. There wasn't a lot of openness around mental health. And I'm probably the most open of my family around my mental health struggles because I don't want anybody else to suffer like that. And
Yes.
because of that, I've been able to like help friends of mine who are like, I'm thinking I'm struggling and I know you've had this problem. What happened? What did it look like?
Yeah.
But that
That's,
was like, go ahead.
I was just going to say, that's, it's so beautiful to be able to like take your pain and your experience and like help others with that, because it is nice to kind of have that resource or friend that has gone through it. And you're right, like there's such a stigma around talking about mental health, and I feel like we're finally getting to the point where that's like coming down a little bit and people are being more open about it. But I know, like, personally, my mom went through menopause when I was pretty young because she was an older mom, and she really struggled, and she had a lot of like depression and anxiety, and it was just like really chaotic as a child. But we never really talked about that. And like, I
Yeah.
just absorbed all the trauma from it and then had to work it out later in therapy. But I was like, oh my gosh, if only it would have been more common to say, like, hey, why don't we take you to a therapist, instead of just like, here's some
Yeah.
more hormone pills, try these and see if they work, come back in 90 days. But
Yeah.
meanwhile, you're just suffering for those 90 days. And like, I love that there's so many like therapy platforms now, and it's becoming
Yeah.
so much more accessible. And I really think like Gen Z, I don't know what generation you're in. I'm an old millennial, but I feel like
Same,
Gen
same.
Z's, okay, yeah, I feel like Gen
Yeah.
Z is doing a lot to like remove that stigma around
Yeah.
mental health and just like fully embracing it and being more open about that. And I really hope that that helps like my daughter's generation when she gets
Yeah.
older, and that getting long-term disability for mental health isn't such a battle, and it's just like a
Yeah.
standard, okay, it's just like if you're physically disabled, here's the checklist and here you go. But I'm sure
Yeah.
that was not the case for you.
My memory's a little bit fuzzy during that time too. Like, and that's the other thing that really makes me angry, and was one of the things that when we were talking about having another baby, that it was like, I don't remember a lot from my first. I feel like I could have done so much more, or I could have remembered things, but it like that stole it from me. That PPA and PPD of like that, having full blown panic attacks, rages, all of those things. It was like, oh my gosh, that it just like that level, my capacity was so much lower at that point for handling things. And in my husband's job, like he has to travel. He ended up being off the road for an inordinate amount of time to support me, which is not something his job ever really does,
Yeah.
which is great that he was able to do that. But it was one of the things going into, are we ready for a second kid, that we really had to talk about was, what's our game plan? What's our community look like? What do we plan for if the kids get sick and I have to run out and do this, or whatever it is. If going to the grocery store is, oddly enough, like that was a big win for me with my first, of like taking him to the grocery store
Yeah.
by myself, because he is a
That's
wild one.
toddler in a grocery store is hard. I don't take mine by myself very often.
Yeah.
That's beautiful that you guys like had that open communication and planning and structure. Were there like specific actions that you took to kind of feel like you were ready for a second, like building community or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, we were out of the pandemic. My son was older. I think he was 4 when we got pregnant. Like as a mom, you have a really good forgetter about childbirth and like
Oh yeah.
everything. And like was not the birth plan I wanted with my first. We did they induced me. He was like ginormous, like 9 pounds, 11, no, maybe 9'7", I think. And I'm 5 foot, like not a lot. Yeah. And it was like everybody asked if I was having twins, and I was like, this is just like the biggest baby known to man. Just leave me alone.
That's funny.
Yeah. And so it looked like I was, just because when you're short, it has nowhere to go but out.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
I'm 5'3" and I have a really short torso. So it was just
Same.
straight like shelf.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like really early. And then when you're pregnant with your second, it's like immediately, boop, you get a little bump. Um, but yeah. And so when we talked about it, it was like, okay, he's older, he's calming down a little bit. I mean, there is no calm to that kid. He's the Energizer Bunny. We call him the perpetual motion machine. Like he's more independent. And it was like we talked about it. He talked to his father, who's kind of his like mentor in all things. His parents were ready for us to have another one. These are their only grandkids. And
Oh,
meanwhile, yeah, my side of the family has like 11 grandkids or something. So they're
oh
like
my
tapped
gosh.
out. They're like, who else could possibly have children? Um, and so it was really interesting just going through and like having those conversations and, okay, well, what do we want to do if this happens? How do we handle this part? I ended up having gestational diabetes and we managed that. Yeah. He was really supportive during that time. My husband was, and like it was a girl, and so I was sick immediately. I was so ill like the entire time. And so my son was really good about like patting my back when I was throwing up.
Oh,
Like,
that's so sweet.
he's such a sweetheart. And then it finally got to be the point where he was like over it. And so he's like just watching TV and I'm over there retching.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so sweet though. It's really cool that you guys were able to kind of like put that structure in. It sounds like obviously being
Yeah.
a consultant, like you are in control and operationally minded, and like
Yeah.
sounds like you kind of applied some of that to personal life of like deciding to have a
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah, and I mean I've done like a Kanban board for having a baby of like, so I knew like what needed to go in month 1, month 2, month 3. Like I had been taking prenatal vitamins for over a year at that point, because I just told my husband, I was like, while you catch up to this decision, I'm going to start prepping my body.
Yeah. That's, I don't think I'm ever going to stop taking my prenatal. I
I
still,
think I need to go back to them because my nails are jacked right now.
so I stopped when my daughter was like a year old and I lost a bunch of hair. And so now I'm like, nope, I'm never going to stop taking
Yeah.
them. I'm just like, she's
Yeah.
2 now and I'm still going strong.
Yeah.
They're just easy. They're a good multivitamin and great
Yeah.
for the hair and nails.
Yeah. And the hair thing is normal, but yeah, I don't think I should be losing this much like anyway with my nails. But yeah. And then and one of the big things was like, I did not want to be at the job I was in for the second baby because it was a situation where it was like unlimited PTO, very high stress, but they were tracking your PTO. And my son had a lot of, he was just sick a lot. He has allergies and stuff. And so, like, the school he was at, they'd send him home for like a sniffle, essentially.
Yeah.
And so because we don't have anybody in the area, it was hard for us to be like, we'll just take him home and like grandma can come up and watch him. We don't have that luxury. And so that was one of the things. And so I got laid off from that job. And then I started my own consulting firm.
Nice.
And it's been operational for 2 years now, this January.
Congrats.
Thanks. Huge point. And so I was like, all right, I don't have this. I am not nearly as anxious and neurotic. My mental health feels good. I'm still on my antidepressants because if you don't produce your own serotonin, store bought is fine, right? And I was like, I feel like I'm in a good spot. I was doing Pilates regularly. And so, from a physical point of view, I was like, yes, I'm ready. I was conscious of like what I was eating. And, my son was just like blossoming, but he loves just people. And I was like, I really think he needs another little mini him
Yeah.
running around too, of like, he just would love that. And it took my husband a little while because he did not forget how bad it was.
Yeah.
Like,
The men don't
you
have
know,
that same forgetting mechanism.
no, no. And he was like, this is crazy. Why would you do this? And so I got him there and I was like, I want this baby. We're going to have this baby. And he was like, let's do it. And then boom, we got pregnant. Like
Oh,
it was crazy. I've never known anybody to be that fruitful, I guess, which is a disgusting way to put that, but sorry. But
that's so
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. And so, I mean, we worked through a lot of struggles. I mean, when I came back from my disability, I was laid off. That was the second time I was laid off within a month.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
like almost to the day, maybe like a day and a month and a day, being laid off like right after I came back from my disability
Oh my
leave. It was
gosh.
crazy. So,
That's so
and it,
wild. But
yeah, and
it
it
worked
caught me
out
totally
because
by it did. Yeah.
you found your path. So what's your consulting firm now? What kind of consulting do you do?
Yeah. Yeah, so my company name is Iconoclast Innovations. I am the Chief Innovation Officer. I didn't want to be CEO or president. The innovation is the part that I'm really more interested in.
Yeah.
We chose the name Iconoclast. I chose the name Iconoclast because it's more about pushing boundaries and challenging those norms and status quos. I'm not a huge fan of like selling a service to somebody or a framework to somebody because that's what I'm a gold partner in or that's what I'm tied to. I'm really framework agnostic and
Hmm.
I like to see what people need. And so I work with organizations to scale and grow. And I'm really focused on scaling and growing my own business this year. And I also work with individuals. I'm really passionate about helping leaders develop and truly see what their capabilities are and getting just the friction out of the process, right? Everything holding you back, that drag from any, like maybe even an organizational point of view, like all that crap that you're pulling with you, getting that out of the way so that you can actually blossom and do what you do best and what people may not realize and help them find those capabilities.
That's so cool. I love that. I
Thanks.
also work in ops. I've spent the last 10 years working in ops for startups and now running my own thing. And so it's something that's like very near and dear to my heart. And I always love meeting other people whose minds kind of work the same. When you said like Kanban board
Yeah.
for pregnancy, I was like, oh my gosh, you're speaking my love
Yeah.
language. That's totally
Yeah.
me.
My poor husband was like, I don't know what this is, and I'd like to not use it.
You're like, but it's so helpful. Yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of spreadsheets and spreadsheet literally everything and every aspect of my
Yeah.
life. It's great.
It's a new way to do things and I don't think his brain works that way. So
Yeah. That's so funny. So, do you have any advice for moms who are maybe in the thick of it right now with PPA or PPD?
I had a lot of thoughts that were like, I would look at my husband playing with my son, and I would be like, they don't even need me here. They don't need me. Why am I here? That's one, your brain is lying to you. Two, it's not true at all. You bring something to, your child's life, your spouse's, your partner, the people around you. You bring something that you don't even realize or maybe recognize, and knowing that this is going to change. Like, even if it's good or bad, nothing stays the same.
Yeah.
What kept me going was like just thinking through, can I make it through maybe even the next hour, maybe the next minute, right? And just taking it that slowly and not getting too far in like the weeds of like what's tomorrow look like, and making sure that you are being as easy on yourself as you can. A lot of people are going to be hard on you, especially if you're a new mom or a mom again or whatever it is. You've got enough people that are probably going to be judging you. Breastfeeding to what you're even diapering your baby with, and
Yes.
what you're, like my first kid had really bad eczema, and I thought I was like the worst mom in the world because we couldn't get it resolved. And we finally had to go to a dermatologist and figure it out and really do a lot of work. And he's fine. He has some breakouts every now and then, but he's great. He's super smart. He's super healthy. So yeah, number two is go easy on yourself. One is nothing lasts forever, good or bad. Just try and stay in the moment as much as you can. And number three, the thing that really helped me kind of, in addition to having a community, a therapist, psychiatrist to help monitor meds and making all of those appointments and a supportive partner,
Hmm.
was reclaiming like my punk rock heritage from when I was 17, right? And I would often think about what would 17-year-old Sarah do? Because she would not let this happen.
Yeah.
She was kind of mean. She would not let that happen. And so like I had things that I started looking forward to. I was like, I'm going to get my nose pierced because I'd always wanted that. I'm going to get more tattoos because I got the Atlanta skyline. I got the Sailor Mars scepter for transformation. And I really started thinking about like this quote by Seamus Heaney that I really love. He's an Irish poet, or he was. And it says, you lose more of yourself than you redeem doing the decent thing. And so how are you going to be true to yourself today, even if it might rub people the wrong way?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that's the important thing for me, is being who I am and not trying to be like some Instagram mom. I'm not that mom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's way too much comparison to the social media moms, and like in all sides. Like there's sometimes
Yeah.
they glorify the really bad and like it's
Yeah.
not always that bad. And then sometimes they look completely perfect and it is never that perfect
No,
for
God, no.
anyone.
I know. I thought about doing a behind the scenes of my house, and then I was like, no, that's too much.
Yeah, no. I'm brave. I'm not that brave.
No, yeah,
I don't need strangers on the internet judging my chaotic home.
yeah, yeah. What you see on the
That's
camera is enough chaos for me right now.
exactly. Yeah.
So,
Earlier when you were talking, you talked about like taking things like day by day and step by step. And earlier you said you've been sober for 10 years, which congrats. That's amazing.
thanks.
Is
Thank you.
that kind of like day by day something that you picked up in going through your sobriety journey?
I did. Yeah. And so they talk about like one day at a time, right?
Mhm.
And I went to AA for like when I was getting sober because it was the only thing I knew
Yeah.
to do. And when I was there, somebody gave me the white chip and they said, put this in your mouth, and when it dissolves, you can drink again. And of course, it's like a little poker chip. It's never going to dissolve, which is all the
Yeah.
joke. And I took a lot of those learnings and I really loved a lot of them. Like the same thing about what I've been through is going to end up being an asset because I can help somebody else with it. So going through PPD and PPA, like my sister-in-laws recently had their first babies. And so I had my brothers in the same room with them. I looked at them dead in the eye and I said, you are responsible for making sure mom is taken care of. And
Yep.
I'm not just talking about getting her a PB&J or something, but I said, this is some real talk from your big sis. You are responsible for making sure that her mental health is okay. here are the signs. You need to look out for them
Yeah.
and you need to be aware. And if you have any questions, call me or my husband and I will set you straight. I was
Yeah.
like, I will be checking in on you. I may not live here anymore, but I'm around.
I love what you said about like just the one day at a time. And I've also been to AA and been through a lot of that. And it was like one of the most transformative things of my life. And
Yeah,
like I don't go anymore, but the things that I learned in there and the community that it gave me, I found AA in like the darkest time of my life when I felt like literally everything was collapsing. And my dad always told me like one foot in front of
yeah,
the other. Just keep going. Like, just do the next right thing. You don't have to think about everything. And it's
yeah,
literally the advice that I give every single person in every aspect of life, like founders, moms, everything.
yeah,
Just one foot in front of the other, do the next right
yeah,
thing. And those small actions and consistency will add up
yeah.
in the end.
And I know a guy, he would always say, just do the next thing right. Because, I couldn't even think about what is the next right thing. Like, that's too esoteric. It was like, what am I doing? And to be honest, to not be an asshole today.
Yeah.
And so that's part of it that I take into my momming too, is like, in my partnership with my husband is like, if I'm gonna look in the mirror and everybody I see, or if I go around and everybody I see is a jerk, like I'm probably the source of it, right?
Yes.
So I try and not be a jerk to anybody else, and if I am, I'm like, what is happening? And that was a big flag of like, yes, this something's wrong, because I can be real sarcastic and biting, but I'm usually not like raging.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean, it's so great that you had those like that kind of barometer of like, hey, I know my baseline and I am
yeah.
now back to the dark side.
Yeah. And my husband like didn't know me before I got sober, so he didn't know either. I told him some of the war stories, but it was like he can't always tell like what's going on in your head or your heart at all times. So
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
just
And
knew
that,
like the blow ups were happening.
yeah. That inner
Hmm.
monologue, like the stuff going on in your head is just some of the most dangerous like
It
stuff
is.
there is.
Yeah, breaking that cycle is also crucial of like, get up, do something, move, play with your baby, go
Yeah.
sit in the sun, go
Yeah.
for a drive even. Like your baby will fall asleep probably. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
And if they
Are there
don't, like my son, yeah, it'll be
Are
all
there any
right.
like, books or resources that you kind of turn to during that time that you'd recommend to other moms?
That's a good question. I didn't have a ton of books that I was like, I had a really hard time just sitting down and
Mhm.
doing something. Like, it was really weird. I used to love going out to, like, for every anniversary, we would go to a Michelin starred restaurant before the kids. And so after, with the postpartum depression, I was like, I can't sit down for that long. Like I get way too antsy. And so audiobooks, podcasts, like oddly enough, the podcast My Favorite Murder was like the thing that I really cleaved onto hard. Audiobooks while I was like doing stuff was really good. I just did a lot of podcasts. Like that was like my number one podcast year, I think, was 2020 and 2021. I tried really hard to connect with people virtually too, and because there just wasn't a lot of like people around. I had a text group that I had with like some of my girlfriends that we all had babies around the same time. For my first one, it was their second ones. One of them was a nurse practitioner, and she's like the basically saved my life multiple times. Both those girls did. And yeah, so just trying to reach out in any way. I didn't have like a lot of books. It was just keeping something going in my head to
Yeah.
where like the other stuff was drowned out a little bit.
Yeah. That's great advice cuz yeah, I know when I'm like struggling in the past when I've struggled with depression and anxiety, like the thought of just sitting down and reading a book
Hmm.
was very challenging and I feel like when I was struggling with depression in my younger years, like podcasts weren't what they are now. It wasn't the
Yeah.
option that it is now and now there's
Yeah.
a podcast for everything. It's amazing.
It is amazing and it's so great. But yeah, I mean, and even now, podcasts are still going strong. It's wonderful. But yeah, even like when you're trying to take care of a newborn, you're trying to just like navigate everything, sitting down is probably not much of an option.
Yeah.
So anything, and the baby's fine. Like you can be scrolling through whatever, sitting with them. The other thing is like, the baby snugs. Those were very
Yes.
healing.
Little
Skin to
oxytocin.
skin. Yeah, I did skin to skin like so aggressively much with my first one that I'm his first and foremost. So
That's the
I
best.
Well, my husband took over our little girl, so they're thick as thieves now. I'm like, you thief.
I'm
Could
sure
have had
that'll
her.
like flip back and forth as they go through life.
Yeah, it will. It will. But it's very cute to see. Like, and that's the other part I think about your spouse becoming a parent for the second time. That was really, I did not realize how much that was gonna just like break my heart open.
Yeah.
Like, he already knows what to do in the hospital. He's so excited. He's such a good like coach and partner and everything. And it was like, dang, he knows what's going on. He's a dad.
Aw, that's so
Yeah.
amazing. It's so great to like the
Yeah.
falling in love with your spouse all over again. Like I know watching my husband become a dad was just like a whole new level of
Yeah.
love. And just when we first met, neither one of us wanted kids. And
Yeah.
then I changed my mind and he got on board after some convincing. And then
Yeah.
watching him be a dad, I was just like, oh my gosh, it's so cool. And even now, like him and my daughter are so close
Yes.
and it's such a beautiful relationship. And it makes me so happy because I know that that relationship between daughter and father is
It's
so
so sweet.
important to like her
Yeah.
confidence. And I know that she's just going to grow up and be like such a well adjusted child
Yeah.
from that. And that makes me so happy.
Well, my daughter has not only her daddy, but she's got her brother, and they're just falling all over themselves to get her whatever she needs
That's
or
so
even could want. That girl is not crawling. She's almost 11 months because they just give her everything. It's so cute. It's so cute.
That's so beautiful.
Oh,
Well, this has
yeah.
been so amazing. Do you have any parting words for moms who might be listening who are going through something similar that you did?
Feel free to reach out. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. I know how hard it is, and I'm so happy to talk to anybody. I'm also happy to talk to your spouse or your partner if they need a kick in the pants too. So, but
I
you
love
can contact me at sarah.smith at iconoclastltd.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn and, or Insta. I'm there and I'm active. So if you just say, hey, I'm struggling, I'm a mom, I would be happy to talk to you. So,
That's beautiful. Thank you. And I'll
yeah,
put your contact info in the description too, so people can
thank
find
you.
you easily. And thank you so much for sharing so openly and vulnerably. And this was absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. It's been a while, and I'm very glad I didn't cry this time.
It's okay to cry too.
Yes, yes, it definitely is. It's been a couple of years separated, so, but thank you for having me.
Of course.